Today, the Biden-Harris campaign released a new ad all about Donald Trump's confusion.
Donald Trump is truly confused.
Nikki Haley is in charge of security. We offered her 10,000 people. They don't want to talk about that.
He didn't just get me confused. He mentioned it over and over and over again. Yeah. He's not what he was in 2016. He has declined. That's a fact.
I mean, we won last time. We won 50 states, right?
This is not Donald Trump of 2016, guys.
What? What is?
If he's off the teleprompter, he can barely keep a cogent thought. I mean, that's just fact.
We are an institute in a powerful death penalty. We will put this on.
I think he's declining.
I stumbled and mumbled purposely.
I do speak in long, complex sentences, and I have a lot of material in each sentence.
You have voter ID to buy a loaf of bread. You have ID to buy a loaf of bread.
Have you noticed? He's a little confused these days.
A person close to Trump actually says that he's rattled by Biden's efforts to get under his skin.
While Donald Trump is busy raising money to pay his lawyers, the New York Times reports the main Democratic super PAC supporting President Biden's reelection bid, Future Forward, is beginning this week to reserve $250 million in advertising across the most important battleground states, a blitz that it says is the largest single purchase of political advertising by a super PAC in the nation's history. Joining our discussion now is Simon Rosenberg, Democratic strategist and author of Hopium Chronicles on Substack. Simon, you're backed by popular demand. It's not just me, it's the audience, everybody that they desperately need to hear from you. There is the presidential campaign going on, and we're relying on you to cover it for us. I just want to play what the Fed chair has said, and he's telling a truth that does not seem to have penetrated the American consciousness widely enough. Let's listen to this.
Yeah, this is a good situation. Let's be honest. This is a good economy.
So that's a Republican, and he was made the Fed chair by Republicans. President Biden kept him there. And he went on and on about, it's the first time in 50 years that we've had unemployment under 4% for 2 years in a row. He just went on and on about how strong this economy is. But it doesn't seem to be the perception out there among the voters who Joe Biden's going to need.
Well, I think voters on our side understand this. I mean, if you break apart the understanding the economy into the two parties, Biden gets pretty good ratings from Democrats on the economy. He gets, 0 from MAGA, right? And so it brings the whole number down. But look, we have Joe Biden is a good president. We have a strong case to make for reelection. The country is far better off. I think he's met the fundamental promise that he made to all of us in 2020, which is he'd get us to the other side of COVID successfully. I think we're there. I mean, part of what Chairman Powell was saying is that, it's remarkable where we are right now compared to where we were just a few years ago. I mean, just go through the list, Lawrence. I'll do it really quick, right? I mean, strongest recovery in the G7, best job market since the 1960s, lowest uninsured rate in American history. The stock market setting records every day, real wages galloping and strong, the deficit trillions of dollars less than it was. I mean, remarkable performance, no matter how you look at it. And we should be really proud of that as a country, and as Democrats, proud of our president for having met his fundamental promise to us that he was going to get us to the other side of COVID successfully. I think we're there now.
Couple of questions. Well, let me start with polls. Is it time to start looking at polls, something I really haven't been doing?
Well, I mean, it's part of the discourse, right? You can't put your head in the sand on this stuff, and you've got to try to make sense of it the best you can. I mean, last time I was on, you had an important observation, which is that the polling and the results that we're seeing in actual voting in states that have ads, like in Iowa and New Hampshire, tell us a little bit more about the election than these sort of broad general polls. And those polls and the results of those Iowa and New Hampshire primaries were not good for the Republicans, right? Low turnout in Iowa, lots of concerns about the Trump presidency among large chunks of Republicans. You had Trump, as you pointed out in the show last time, coming down 10 to 15 points below his, below public polling that day. I think there's a lot of evidence so far. The most important data that we have is that Republicans are struggling, as they did in 2022, as they did in 2023, And even today, right? I mean, there was one bad poll for Biden today, but let's go through what we learned today in the data, right? Just today, we had Quinnipiac poll that had Biden up 6 points, 50-44, gaining 5 points since the last poll. The Morning Consult poll had Biden gaining 3 points. We had the I'm at my notes here. The Economist YouGov poll, Biden gained 2 points. So in 3 polls today, we saw a 2-point gain, 3-point gain, 5-point gain for Biden. And we've also seen just in the last few weeks polling that has Biden ahead of his 2020 results in New Hampshire, Pennsylvania, and Michigan. So the polling, if you want to paint a positive picture for Joe Biden, the data's there. There's also data showing that things are not so good, right? And that's because it's still really early. People are not engaged. Polling's all over the place. It's not all pointing in the same direction. And we have to be careful not to get blown around by the noise in the machine every day. And I think it's why your point last week was so important. Let's focus on the stuff that happened in Iowa, New Hampshire, and that is not good news for the Republicans.
As we go forward, I'm looking at the fundamental proposition of how does Donald Trump, what is he doing? What is Donald Trump doing to try to convince voters to come to him who haven't come to him before? He's going to have to get voters who never voted for him before, since he came in millions of votes behind Hillary Clinton, 7 million votes behind Joe Biden. He's going to have to get some people to vote for him who haven't voted for him before. And I've never heard him speak to those people. Joe Biden does try to speak to people who haven't voted for him before.
Yeah, I mean, look, the fundamental dynamic of this election is that Joe Biden's a good president, is going to have a strong case for re-election. The country's better off. And they're running the most unfit guy to run for president in all of our history, who's a far weaker candidate than he was in 2020. I mean, he's campaigning from the courthouse and not from the White House. He's more degraded, more extreme, more dangerous. His performance on the stump, as you pointed out, is wild and erratic and frankly disturbing, right, if you really listen to him. And he's also making kind of classic political mistakes, the kind of mistakes that candidates who lose elections make, like coming out against the ACA at the same time we're having record signups of this program, and also, taking credit for ending Roe. I mean, those are traditional political mistakes that can cause candidates to lose elections. I just think when you add all this up, right, the fact that the information that we have today that we didn't have about him before, right, that he's a rapist and that he stole America's secrets and he led an insurrection and he ended Roe, when you put all this together, it just gets very hard to see how this guy can win this election in 2024. And it's why I'm so fundamentally optimistic about where we are right now.
Simon Rosenberg, thank you very much for joining us again.
Thanks, Lauren.
Relinquish what remains of the Allspark.
So who's the insect? You? What? Who's the insect?
Protect you. They were defeated on our world, and we will defeat them here.
This was just a diversion. Security teams bring up. Rabbit, she's already inside. Deeds! Give me an update on that reserve. What's readiness? What was his name? What was it?
Evac, sir.
Right, evac.
She's right in front.
We are facing a heavy, sustained attack. They appear to be after the Allspark aircraft. General! We need to evac immediately. Evac everything. Hold on. National security evacuation. Stay down. Check it out. The mission celebration. The amateurs. Suicide mission.